Nobody told you that smoking began long before tobacco existed. The real story starts not with cigarettes, but with fire itself. Fire has been part of human life for at least 1 million years. Every ancestor who sat beside a campfire breathed smoke continuously. That involuntary daily smoke inhalation continued for hundreds of thousands of years. Some of that smoke came from plants with powerful psychoactive compounds inside. Certain plants release mind-altering chemicals when they burn in open flames. Alkaloids and terpenes interact directly with the human nervous system immediately. Some prehistoric humans were accidentally getting high around campfires without knowing why. They had no idea why certain evenings felt so unexpectedly pleasant and warm. Researchers have proposed for decades that early humans inhaled psychoactive smoke regularly. Cannabis, Nicotiana species, and various entheogens grow naturally across multiple continents. The human brain contains specific receptors that respond to cannabinoids readily. These receptors did not evolve because of cannabis but existed in the brain already. They regulate mood, memory, appetite, and pain response in every living person. When a human first inhaled burning cannabis smoke, the brain recognized the compounds. The brain essentially welcomed something it already had chemical machinery ready to receive. That first accidental psychoactive hit around a prehistoric fire changed everything permanently. It happened not through planning, but through a pleasant accident repeated many times. The entire global smoking tradition may trace back to one person sitting downwind. History sometimes works in ways that are both beautiful and completely absurd. Now we must examine what archaeology actually shows us about intentional smoking. The oldest direct evidence of intentional cannabis use comes from Central Asia. Excavators found wooden braziers with superheated stones and high-potency cannabis residue. This was not wild cannabis used for rope fiber or for nutritional seeds. This was deliberately placed high-THC cannabis inside a ritual burial context dating to 500 BC. That discovery is already 2,500 years old. But it raises a deeper question. Does the absence of older evidence mean intentional smoking did not happen earlier? Or does it mean organic material simply dissolves before any archaeologist arrives to look? Stone tools survive 3 million years because stone is essentially indestructible underground. A wooden pipe filled with dried herbs disappears from the record within centuries. A leather pouch of cannabis dissolves into earth long before any excavation begins. Absence of physical evidence is absolutely not evidence of absence in this specific case. There is also the remarkable written account of the ancient Greek historian Herodotus. Writing in the 5th century BC, he described the Scythians performing vapor baths. They built small enclosed tents, heated stones until glowing red, and threw hemp seeds inside. Then they sat breathing the smoke while Herodotus noted they howled with pleasure. Historians assumed for centuries that Herodotus was exaggerating or misunderstanding what he saw. Then archaeologists excavated Scythian burial mounds and found exactly what he described. Bronze braziers, heated stones, and hemp residue confirmed his account completely and precisely. He was not embellishing at all. He was simply reporting what he witnessed accurately. Now let's examine tobacco specifically, since most people associate smoking with tobacco. Tobacco is entirely native to the Americas and was unknown elsewhere until 1492. When Columbus arrived in the Caribbean, he observed indigenous people doing something strange. Men and women walked around with small glowing sticks, inhaling smoke from dried leaves. Columbus recorded this directly in his journals with genuine confusion about the practice. Within weeks, his crew tried tobacco themselves, because of course they did immediately. But tobacco use in the Americas predates Columbus by thousands of years easily. Archaeological evidence shows tobacco chemical residues inside ancient pipes from 3,500 years ago. Some researchers believe tobacco cultivation in the Amazon could extend back 10,000 years. Critically, tobacco in ancient America was not primarily a recreational habit at all. Tobacco was sacred, used in healing rituals and communication with the spirit world. Blowing smoke on someone was an act of blessing, connection, and deep respect. A shaman who smoked was opening a channel between the living and spiritual worlds. The smoke itself was a living messenger carrying prayers upward and visions downward. That sacred framing explains why tobacco use was disciplined and ritualized for millennia. That casual relationship with tobacco is barely 4 centuries old in historical terms. Now let's examine what may be the oldest direct evidence of intentional smoking anywhere. In 2019, researchers found a hearth in the Great Salt Lake Desert, Utah. This hearth was approximately 12,000 years old and contained wild tobacco seeds deliberately. These were not seeds accidentally blown by wind into an ordinary campfire. They were concentrated in a way suggesting someone placed them there with intention. This site predates any known pottery or pipe artifacts in the region by millennia. That discovery pushed back the possible timeline of tobacco use by a significant margin. It also raised a question that demands serious consideration rather than easy dismissal. If people were placing tobacco into fires 12,000 years ago, what were others doing elsewhere? Because 12,000 years ago, humans were living across Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Americas. The human desire to alter consciousness is not specifically American at all. It is a universal human behavior documented independently across virtually every culture studied. This connects to something called the intoxication hypothesis, which deserves serious attention. Across virtually every culture ever studied, people have consistently sought ways to alter consciousness. Fermented beverages, psychedelic mushrooms, inhaled smoke, and chewed leaves appear universally. Psychopharmacologist Ronald Siegel proposed that seeking intoxication functions as a fourth biological drive. Alongside hunger, thirst, and sex, altering consciousness may be biologically embedded in animals. Elephants deliberately seek out fermented marula fruit to achieve altered states consistently. Reindeer in Siberia eat psychoactive mushrooms and then consume the urine of other affected reindeer. If this drive is this deep and ancient, early humans likely acted on it systematically long before pipes existed, long before pottery, long before agriculture developed anywhere on Earth. They may have selected campsites near plants whose smoke produced reliably pleasant effects. They may have learned through dangerous trial and error which plants burned well and which killed. This was prehistoric pharmacology conducted through lived experience at genuinely high stakes. The survivors remembered, told others, and passed knowledge across generations through oral tradition. That is how virtually all human knowledge worked before writing existed anywhere on Earth, not libraries or schools, but lived experience, transmitted beside fires in complete darkness. There is another dimension of this story that rarely receives the attention it deserves. Smoking was medicine long before it became spiritual practice or recreational habit for anyone. The Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest medical documents in existence, dates to 1550 BC. It describes treatments involving deliberate inhalation of smoke from heated medicinal herbs. These treatments were specifically prescribed for conditions affecting the throat and respiratory system. This seems wildly counterintuitive from a modern perspective regarding lung health, obviously. But the specific herbs described do have genuine pharmacological properties when inhaled correctly. The delivery mechanism was logical by ancient medical standards and thinking at the time. Smoke reaches the lungs directly, delivering plant compounds exactly where they were needed. We still use inhalation today with asthma inhalers, anesthetics, and medical nebulizers regularly. The delivery principle survived into modern medicine even as the burning was largely eliminated. Ancient Indian Ayurvedic medicine dating back 3,000 years describes a practice called dhumapana. This means smoke drinking and involves inhalation of medicinal herbs through specially designed pipes. The texts specify precise plants, conditions treated, and exact preparation methods for practitioners. This was not casual improvisation, but a sophisticated medical system refined across centuries carefully. Across ancient China, Mesopotamia, Greece, and India, therapeutic smoke inhalation was standard practice. People inhaled smoke deliberately for therapeutic purposes as a genuinely recognized medical treatment, not because they were addicted or fashionable, but because it produced measurable results. Humans evolved in groups where group cohesion was literally a matter of survival. Isolated individuals died at dramatically higher rates than members of cohesive functioning groups. Anything that enhanced social bonding carried genuine survival value for our prehistoric ancestors. Shared rituals are extraordinarily powerful tools for creating cohesion between community members. When people undergo a shared altered experience together, they develop trust difficult to replicate. Modern neuroscience confirms that shared rituals synchronize neural activity and deepen group identity measurably. When ancient humans sat together breathing cannabis smoke in an enclosed space collectively, that was not recreation. That was social technology building the trust required for survival. The ritual smoke circle was infrastructure, the way communities built cohesion that kept them alive. Now we reach the uncomfortable part connecting this ancient story to the present day. When tobacco arrived in Europe in the 16th century, it spread with alarming speed. Within decades, smoking had transformed from an exotic curiosity into a continental obsession entirely. By the 1600s, tobacco was being traded globally on a scale reshaping entire economies. By the early 1900s, the industrially manufactured cigarette was invented to maximize consumption. This made tobacco cheaper, more convenient, and far more addictive than anything before it. What indigenous Americans had refined into sacred ritualistic practice over millennia was systematically industrialized. The tobacco industry in the 20th century suppressed evidence that cigarettes caused lung cancer. That evidence had been compiled internally by their own scientists studying the exact question. They marketed cigarettes to children and hired doctors to publicly endorse specific brand products. They added compounds specifically designed to make nicotine hit faster and leave the system sooner. This maximized addiction potential while simultaneously maximizing the physical harm to consumers deliberately. A shaman placing cannabis on heated stones in 500 BC and a tobacco executive in 1960 both used smoke. They had almost nothing else in common across that vast historical and moral distance. So when exactly did ancient humans first start smoking something with conscious intention? The honest answer is that we do not know, and we probably never will. Physical evidence takes us back 12,000 years with reasonable confidence and possibly much further. The behavioral drive underlying smoking is almost certainly far older than any artifact recovered. It may be as old as fire itself burning in a South African cave 1 million years ago. It may be as old as the cognitive leap that first made us recognizably human, the ability to connect cause and effect, noticing that last time that plant burned felt different. That is not addiction. That is intelligence applied to a repeated, careful observation. By the time historical records begin anywhere, smoking was already genuinely ancient behavior. In every corner of the world where humans lived, they were already inhaling smoke intentionally. The specific plants changed, the rituals changed, and the purposes changed across centuries. But the behavior itself was ancient before anyone thought to write anything down at all. There is something poetic about that continuity running unbroken through 100,000 years of human life. Fire, smoke, and breath have connected every generation of humans from the beginning until tonight. The oldest humans breathed the same smoky air you would smell at a bonfire right now. At some point, they started paying attention to what that smoke was doing to their minds. Then they started choosing it deliberately with growing knowledge of exactly which plants worked. Then they passed that knowledge down across uncountable generations of people through oral tradition until it reached the Scythians howling with pleasure inside their tents on the Eurasian steppe, and the Egyptian physicians prescribing herbal smoke to patients in ancient Alexandria carefully, and the Mayan shamans reading visions in smoke rising from sacred fires during rituals, and the Taino people watching baffled Europeans cough trying tobacco for the very first time. Next time you catch wood smoke rising from a fire on a cold evening somewhere nearby, you are participating in something far older than you have ever been told or imagined. You are doing what humans have always done. You are simply breathing.